Welcome to my channel.
Disappearance, then the polygraph's going to show that.
Is there a kernel of truth to any of the allegations she's leveling against you?
Did you ever have sexual contact with Casey?
Is your marriage going to survive this?
Did you knowingly conceal Caylee's whereabouts?
Did I conceal her whereabouts?
Did you conceal her whereabouts? If you have anything to do...
Nearly 14 years after the disappearance and death of their 2-year-old granddaughter, George and Cindy Anthony are back in the spotlight. They're the subjects of the new documentary, Caylee Anthony's Parents, the Lie Detector Test. In 2008, the couple's daughter, Casey, was accused of killing her little girl, and questions lingered about the child's grandparents. Caylee Anthony was ultimately acquitted of murder charges, but questions about the case remain. And all these years later, her parents are taking lie detector tests in an effort to clear their names.
And Tony Harris is the host of the show. Good morning.
Larry, how are you, brother?
Good to have.
How is Robin behaving in the new year? Is she okay?
So far, so good,
Doing
but
my
it's only
best.
like day 4. So
Yeah.
So Tony, is there an attorney telling them not to do this?
No, no, not at all. I think we're here because of Casey's documentary on Peacock, where she levels these, the most heinous allegations you can against anyone. And she's leveling them against her father and to a lesser extent against her mother. She's alleging that her father sexually abused her from the time she was 8 years old on for a period of 4 years, almost weekly, in their family home, which is a small home. And so the idea that Casey would make those kinds of allegations, at some point, the parents, George and Cindy, said, enough of this. And we want an opportunity to clear our names to the extent that we can. And then the idea of doing a polygraph exam just rose out of their desire to find a way, to the best way that they could come up with to hopefully clear their name in their minds.
Let's take a look a little bit of that lie detector test from the special.
Believe that the outcome of this test will show what proved what.
Proved that, number one, I never assaulted or hurt my daughter in any way, and I certainly didn't do anything to my granddaughter. I did everything that I possibly could.
What if the results aren't what you hope?
Did you conceal her whereabouts?
Did I conceal her whereabouts?
It's interesting that they would use this vehicle to try and, squash any of these rumors or allegations. Lie detector tests are not used in court, notoriously unreliable. So why did they agree to do it?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say notoriously unreliable. They've got about a 90% reliability when you consider all of the variables that are involved in this. So I think they chose to do this because they were trying to figure out what's the best way. The case is closed. And I think, you have to also consider the risk involved in doing this. If depending on how this test turns out, it opens them up to a whole new line of official scrutiny, right? So I think there was some real risk involved in doing it this way, regardless of what you think about the reliability of the test. A bad outcome in a test like this really opened them up. And, in television, it's all about, we move the needle when we bring greater clarity, and we move the needle when people are putting, life and limb and freedom on the line. And I think in this case, they decided that they'd had enough, and they were willing to go to whatever lengths to make their case.
What's your emergency? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
It's happening, the most closely watched case, certainly since O.J. Simpson.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, not guilty.
Casey's never told her story. Did she murder her daughter?
Casey interview? Marker?
What do you think my question is going to be?
Why did I wait 31 days to call 911?
Did you do everything in your power to protect your daughter?
The public thought that Caylee didn't want to be a mother.
The lies make you think that she did murder this child.
It's not the Caylee that I knew. She loved that child.
Let her through!
I lied. But no one asked why.
Hello everybody. I just wanted to make a quick video regarding the Lifetime special regarding Caylee Anthony's parents and the lie detector test that they took to prove their innocence. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the case because I'm sure many of you are familiar with the case. It was a very popular case, so I know we don't need to go through all the logistics of it, but just want to go over some brief points while I make my commentary regarding the special. So in the summer of 2008, 2-year-old Caylee Anthony vanished and wasn't reported missing for more than a month. Her grandmother, Cindy, contacted the Orlando Police Department and said that little Caylee was missing and that the last time she was seen was with her mother, Casey, Cindy, and George's daughter. So for more than 6 months, Caylee Anthony and her parents insisted that little Caylee was alive, even though Casey's car had smelled like human decomposition, and there was forensic evidence that seemed to indicate that little Caylee's body had been placed inside of Casey's trunk. So Casey was initially charged in connection with her daughter's death. So Casey was found not guilty in 2011, which I'm sure many of you seen the trial. It was everywhere. I remember it myself. So Casey received 4 years in jail for 4 misdemeanor counts of falsifying information to the police, along with a $4,000 fine. So Casey was released after 2 weeks in prison because she got credit for serving 1,043 days when she was awaiting her trial and for good behavior. I mean, wow. I'll keep going. So in 2022, in an interview, Casey insists that she was innocent of her daughter's killing and that she loved her daughter fiercely. She said that she would have never hurt little Caylee and that she regrets she couldn't protect her. So instead of owning responsibility, in my opinion, she placed the blame on her father, George Anthony, saying that George was the culprit. George had did something nefarious to her daughter. So in her documentary on Peacock, she says that she wasn't feeling that great the morning that Caylee was found, and that she wanted to lay down, and that she had Caylee in bed with her. So she said that when she went to sleep, little Caylee was in the bed with her. So she said when she awoke, her father awoke her by shaking on her and asking her where Caylee was. And she said that didn't make sense to her because Caylee would have never left the room without telling her. So she started immediately looking around the house, and she went outside to see where Caylee was. Then she says that she saw her father, George, holding Caylee's wet, limp body. And she said he was standing there and he handed Caylee to her and said that it was his fault, that he caused it, and that he didn't rush to call 911 and he wasn't trying to resuscitate her. So Casey says she collapsed with Caylee in her arms and Caylee was heavy and cold. She then says that George took Caylee from her and that he immediately told Casey that it's going to be okay, and that Casey wanted to believe her father. So her father took Caylee from her and he went away, insinuating that George was the one that basically disposed of Caylee's body. Now, I'll stop right there really quick. We all know that Casey, if you follow the case, that she has lied, been caught in lies a couple of times, well, more than a couple of times, regarding what happened to her daughter. And I think that instead of taking responsibility, this is my opinion, that she decided to just place the blame on her father, instead of just saying that maybe her daughter's death was accidental. Maybe, like she said, she fell asleep and her daughter got away from her, left the house, went to the pool and drowned. I mean, it didn't, no one said if Caylee could swim. I'm going to assume that she couldn't. And I mean, there's been several cases where children have, especially children whose parents have pools, they have, snuck out the house, went to the pool, drowned. I think OJ, actually, his older kids by his first wife, one of them died. I think the child was a toddler too. I can't remember if the child was like 2 or 3, but she had snuck out to the family pool and drowned. And there's a couple other cases as well. So instead of just telling the truth, if it was an accident, instead of just acknowledging that, she puts it on the father, which makes no sense, because from what I have researched and saw regarding the parents and just what they have said regarding the baby, well, Caylee, they love that little girl. That was their only grandchild. And if you're a grandparent, you will know a grandchild. I mean, I have one grandchild, and there is no way in the world I would do anything nefarious to my grandchild. And I'm not saying that it's not possible, because I mean, in true crime, you see it. Well, I see it every day in regards to reports. I'm not gonna say every day, but you see it a lot in regards to reports of children being killed or dying, that that parents, grandparents, family members can do that. They can do nefarious things to their grandchildren or children. I mean, I understand that, but from what I see, I don't believe it. So yeah, I didn't understand why she would do that. And this next allegation that she made in the documentary, I mean, like, people were just blown back, because it was like, you've never said this before. And she did during the trial, where she said that when she was 8, her father used to come into her room at night and that he sexually assaulted her. And she tried to tell her mom, and she said her mom would get mad at her. And I don't believe that. I don't. Because, I mean, if you think about it logically, you stayed in the home until you was an adult, past an adult. You had a child, and you entrusted living in the same home with your quote-unquote abuser, and you had a little girl yourself. When you do everything in your power to protect your little girl from your quote-unquote abuser, instead of allowing your abuser to be in your little girl's life and to assist you with raising her, which he did, George and Cindy, they assisted in helping her raise little Caylee. So, and Casey didn't try to leave the home or anything. So that really didn't make sense to me, because why would you have the cycle repeated if this man did those things? I wouldn't want to have anything to do with him, especially as an adult. So she also alleges that Caylee was a product of assault, sexual assault, when she was 18. Saying she went into a thing about she went to a house party and she was drugged and assaulted, and Caylee was the product of that. Which, I mean, if that happened to her, my heart goes out to her, because yeah, sexual assault is a bad thing, and it affects you. It affects some people for a lifetime. So, I mean, it was brave of her to have a child who resulted from such a ugly thing that happened to her. I give you kudos on that. But then I wonder, well, from the pictures and everything, it looked like she loved Caylee. I'm not going to say she didn't love Caylee. I know sometimes you hear stories about women who have children from, who's been assaulted sexually, and they have a child, and there may be some resentment, but it doesn't seem like that was the case. I would hope that wasn't the case. So moving on to the Lie Detector special. I mean, my heart went out to the parents, and I don't know, some people might say I'm biased, but I don't believe I am. These people, I wouldn't wish what they're going through on my worst enemy. These people basically live a solitary life. I mean, like, my heart just broke when the father, George, was saying that basically he had nothing to live for and that he wished he could just end it. So, I mean, this guy seems suicidal. He doesn't even want to be on earth anymore. And you could just see the look on his wife's eyes, her face, like, wow. And who knows, she may feel the same way. She didn't verbalize that, but I mean, that has to be hard. And the wife, Cindy, was saying how they get death threats, people calling on the phone and threatening them and calling George a pedophile and a predator, and I mean, just doing daily things like going to the store or to grocery shopping or to pick up prescriptions or a doctor's appointment, how that leads to threats and being ostracized. I mean, these people are like pariahs. It's like they wear the scarlet letter on their chest, and everywhere they go, they're ostracized. I mean, it's not even like celebrity status. It's just having the cruelest things said to you, and I mean, constantly. That's just, I couldn't imagine. Again, I just can't imagine the life that they're living. And I believe they have a son, and I don't know if he's involved in their life, but to see their daughter say the things that she was saying about them, I know that had to be very hard, especially the dad, George, because in the special, they were playing like snippets of Casey's documentary, and the snippets of Casey saying that George assaulted her, and that she believes that he did something nefarious to Caylee, and you could just see the blank looks on their face, like these people have been through hell and they're constantly still going through it. Here it is, I believe, 13 years later, and they're still going through it. It's like the most ugliest thing that happens in your life, and it's being replayed over and over again. I mean, that's like mental, emotional, just trauma. And so they're sitting there, and I'm saying to myself, as they watch Casey say the things that she's saying about them, it's like, I know they have to be saying to themselves, what did I do to my child to make my child say these things and accuse her father of such ugly things? It's like, I'm sure they wondered, did she ever love us? Or is there some kind of sociopath tendencies with her. And, as I was reading just comments from people regarding the documentary and other things regarding Casey, a lot of people said they believed that she was a sociopath. And I would have to agree with that, because just saying those things that she's saying, and that seems like she has such hatred for her parents. And I'm wondering where that comes from. A lot of people were saying that, like, what happened? Did something happen? Because how did she get this way, basically? So before I go on, I'm going to just show the results, and then I'll be back.
Cindy.
Yes.
The scope of your exam was whether or not George has secretly confessed to you any involvement in the disappearance and death of Caylee Anthony.
Right.
Your exam contained 3 relevant questions that were evaluated. Did George ever confirm that he was actively involved in Caylee's death?
No.
Did George ever confirm that he actively participated in Caylee's disappearance?
No.
Did George ever say that he knew where Caylee was while she was missing?
No.
I asked you these questions multiple times during the examination to get a pattern.
Right.
And your results are that you passed this test with no deception indicated to the relevant questions. So, in my professional opinion, you were truthful. I believe you, and you deserve to be believed.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's not going to help finding what happened to Caylee by not being truthful. Right. And that's been the whole point. I mean, I did everything I could and beyond to try to bring my granddaughter home safely. So my focus has always been Caylee.
George. You took 2 examinations, George.
Yes.
The scope of one of your exams had to do with whether or not you were involved in child molestation with your daughter, Casey, and as well with your granddaughter, Caylee. Your exam contained 3 relevant questions. Did you ever have sexual contact with Casey? You answered no.
No.
Did you ever touch Casey for sexual gratification? You answered no. And as an adult, have you ever had sexual contact with a minor, which would include any minor? And you answered no. I asked you the same questions multiple times during the examination, George. The results of that examination, George, are one of your exams had to do with whether or not you were involved in child molestation with your daughter, Casey, and as well with your granddaughter, Caylee. Your results are you passed this test, George, with no deception indicated to all of the relevant questions. In my professional opinion, you were truthful.
No doubt. I would never have stood for it. No doubt. No doubt.
So as you see with the lie detector results, the parents were found innocent. That they passed their test, and George was given 3 different tests and passed all of them. Cindy, I believe, was given 2, as you see in the clips, and she passed hers. And I truly believe those lie detector results. I truly believe that Casey, in my opinion, allegedly did something to her daughter, or she was neglectful, and that she covered it up because she didn't want to go to prison. And I do believe, however, that the parents tried to assist her with covering up what she did. I do believe they knew that Casey did something. This is my opinion, allegedly, in my opinion, that they knew something, that she did something, and they were being they were being protective and decided to assist her with creating a story to try to vindicate her. Because I mean, like, on both of their ends, who in the world waits 31 days to report a child, a toddler missing, you're going to report that child missing the same day, within hours. I mean, most people would. So why would you wait 31 days unless you were trying to get a story together because you all knew what happened? So then that makes me kind of lean towards it was an accidental death and they were covering it up to help Casey not go to prison. So that's my opinion in this whole situation. The parents, again, like I said, my heart goes out to them. And it's just an ugly situation. It looks like there will never be any kind of reconciliation between Casey and the parents, which I find very sad. They've already lost Caylee, and then they don't have each other, so it's bad. I mean, at this point, only divine intervention can get them together. That's what I wanted to say about the special. And I think I'm going to review the Gypsy Blanchard special. There's a 3-day docu-series on it. And so I'll probably do some commentary on the series.